Good afternoon, everybody. It's your pal Martin the Metalhead here. I hope you're going well. I'm about to travel to the Isle of Man this weekend to vlog the early days of the Bee Gees. Now, in case you don't really know me well, I must tell you that the Bee Gees' One Night Only live album from 1997 was the first ever CD I ever got when I was 13 years old on Christmas Day 1998 in Australia. I have always admired the Bee Gees since I was 11, going on 12, even though I only ever owned that one Bee Gees album. But I've always believed that, without the Bee Gees, maybe you wouldn't have had power metal, or maybe you wouldn't have influenced the singing styles of many vocalists in heavy metal. Even though the Bee Gees aren't really a rock band and all, but they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So let's do a bit of a biography about not just the Bee Gees, but let's focus on Barry Gibb, the oldest one of the boys. Now, Barry Allen Crompton Gibb was born on the Isle of Man on the 1st of September 1946, and his parents were actually from Manchester with English, Scottish, and Irish roots. Barry's grandfather was actually born, read it here, in Lanarkshire in Scotland in 1892. He has an older sister, Leslie Evans, who lives in Australia, who didn't seek the path of fame. And his second name, Alan, was after his father's youngest brother, who died in his infancy. So Hugh Gibb and Barbara Gibb were living on the Isle of Man because Hugh Gibb was a drummer and like a band leader, and they were working on the Isle of Man while the mother would be staying at home looking after the children. So Barry was born in 1946, and it says here, when Gibb was born, his father was busy as a musician working in various hotels in Douglas while his mother stayed at home looking after Barry and his sister, who was born a year prior in 1945, I believe. Later, the Gibbs moved to Chapel House on Stag Road, and then when Barry was almost 2 years old, he was badly scalded in an accident involving a hot teapot his mother had just left on a table, which he was able to reach and knock over. He was in Naples Hospital for about 2.5 months. And Gibb later commented on the incidents that the gangrene set in because in those days the advancement of medicine simply didn't apply to people with bad scalds. So you didn't have skin grafts, you didn't have things like that. But this was a particular bad scald, and I think I had 20 minutes to live at some point. The incredible thing for me is that whole 2 years is wiped from my memory. The whole period of being in hospital, the idea of being burnt is there somewhere, but I have no knowledge of it. I've got the scars, but I have no knowledge. Because when you think about it, I myself, I actually don't remember anything until I was 5 years old. I guess that's just how it is. So in 1949, brothers, fraternal twins, Robin and Morris, were born. And the family relocated to 50 St. Catherine Drive. That was before the twins were born. When the twins were young, the family moved to Smedley Cottage, Spring Valley, also in Douglas. Gibb started school on the 4th of September 1951, 3 days after his 5th birthday, attending Braddon School. In 1952, the Gibb family relocated to 43 Snaffell Road in Welleston, which became the home for the next 2 years. The same year, he went to Tinwell Street Infant School. On his 7th birthday in 1953, he went to Desmensey Road Boys' School. So the Gibb family eventually moved back to Manchester in 1955. When you think about it, Barry was 9 at the time, and the twins were going on 6. Yeah, nearly 6 when they moved back to Manchester. So in 1955, the Gibb brothers and a local friend started a skiffle rock group, the Rattlesnakes. They would cover Cliff Richard, Buddy Holly, Paul Anka. And then it was in 1958, the Rattlesnakes disbanded as the boys moved to Australia. So we're going to be focusing this trip on where the Bee Gees had their early life. Now, they didn't really start the Bee Gees until they went to Australia, but there's like 3 places in the world where it's Bee Gee history, right? You got their birthplace in the Isle of Man, you got their Manchester home, as well as the homes in London when they came back after living in Australia, and then you got their life in, I believe it was like Rockhampton in Australia, where Barry did unveil a statue of the brothers about 10 years ago. So we're going to have a look around Isle of Man today. This is my first time I've been to this British overseas territory. We're going to see all these different locations where the Gibbs family lived. There's a few plaques to commemorate where they resided, and there's even a big statue in Douglas of the guys in the Saturday Night period. So I'm really touched that I've been to where the Gibbs used to live in Manchester, and I've been to where Robin and Morris is buried in Tame in Oxfordshire, but I'm quite stoked that I'm going to the Isle of Man, because I've always wanted to go there, even though it's not really a part of the UK. It's a crown dependency of Britain, so Britain takes care of it. But people on the Isle of Man, they're not English, they're Manx. So because Barry, Robin and Morris were born on the Isle of Man, they were literally Manx, British, and Australian, and then also Barry became American years later as he lived the majority of his life in Florida. So let's all go to the Isle of Man right now. So I'm at Victoria train station and I'm taking the train to Gatwick. Yes, I was going to take a bus at 2:30 today, but then I realised there was going to be some sort of issues on the roads to Gatwick. I thought to myself, okay, I know it's going to take an hour to go from Victoria to Gatwick by coach, as it usually does, but I'm not wanting to take any risks, because I mean, this is a quite cheap trip I want to take. It's going to cost me 40 quid to fly there. So I had to shell out an extra 13 quid just to take the train to Gatwick, which is good enough. But normally, if there wasn't any, issues on the roads, I would have just gotten a bus to Gatwick after work. But here I am, just at the train station, thought, get a train. It's got charging ports, got everything I need. So let's go. 6:30 in the morning at Gatwick Airport. Just waiting for my flight. It's gonna take me to the Isle of Man. Yes, my first flight of the year. It's not really an international flight because I'm still flying within the UK Common Travel Zone, United Kingdom, Ireland, Channel Islands, Isle of Man. But I'm going to a crown dependency, which it basically, Isle of Man has its own identity. People from there are called Manx. They are British citizens, but the thing is, people on the Isle of Man have different passports compared to a British citizen like myself. They just have a special passport that basically says Isle of Man. Isle of Man does print its own banknotes and its own currency, just like with Guernsey and Jersey. And also Gibraltar, even though that's like different because Gibraltar is British overseas territory. I'm not really too sure if I will be able to pay in cash because I'll just be using my card all this weekend. So I'm just waiting for my flight to show up on the board to tell me what gate to go to, and then it's just rush to the gate, get on board the plane. It's going to take me an hour and a half to get to the Isle of Man, and as soon as I land, there's no customs or border checks. I mean, maybe there is custom checks in Guernsey and Jersey, but it might be the same in the Isle of Man. And so I'll just get a bus to the city centre and catch up with my buddy John and his wife Kelly. And then we'll start the vlog. They're going to be helping me today, holding the camera, so I won't have to be doing this, They probably held it much more still than I do. Anyway, let's go. I arrived here at the Isle of Man. This is a new part of Britain that I've never been to in my entire life. Yes, I've always wanted to come to the Isle of Man, all because it's the birthplace of the Bee Gees. Yes, Barry, Robin and Morris were born on this island while their parents from Manchester were working here. They're only on the island for roughly 10 years when they went back to Manchester in 1955, and then eventually to Australia in 1958. Yes. I'll never forget Bee Gees' One and Only was the first album I ever got. And matter of fact, it's the first ever live album I ever had. So, just waiting for this bus right here that's going to turn up in a couple minutes time, take me into town. I'm not going to pay top quid for taxis. But, prove myself that I'm an old man. There's a three-legged logo right there. Just got on the number 11 bus, which is 16 kilometers from the airport into Douglas, £2.80. So an extra pound I pay from the Plaza. But really nice scenery out the window. My co-worker's grandmother lives in Isle of Man, and as the real life, and he actually went back there for a visit last year. So I'm meeting up with a friend of mine from America called John and his wife Kelly, and I met John in Baltimore 15 years ago, and John stayed in Sydney and Cairns, and my dad showed him around Cairns. That was like 9 years ago. So last year John was like, "Martin, we should take a holiday while I'm living in Ireland." I said, "How about Somaliland?" And so he was like, "I'm not too sure if my wife would allow me." And I said, "Well, why don't we meet in the middle? I'm in London, you're in Dublin, we meet in the middle on Isle of Man." So John's going to be helping out with the camera. I mean, this bus is pretty like wobbly and bumpy ride. Oh my god, so I'm just near my guest house where my buddy John and Kelly are staying. On the promenade. House is here. Yes. So I was waiting bloody 10 minutes at this one bus stop for like what, change of drivers, and nothing was happening. And I thought, please don't tell me that this bus is broken down and then I'm gonna have to walk the next 2 kilometers. I'm like, this ain't happening. So I'm only about like 100 or so meters from my guest house. Paid less than 40 quid for a one night stay, which is good value. Didn't really want to like use Airbnb, but just behind me, the electric railway. Yes, there's a railway here on the Isle of Man. Wow. Never knew anything like that. I've been walking along the promenade and all with John and Kelly, my few friends, and then here it is. This is brand new. It's only been installed a couple of years ago, just after the pandemic. The 3 Gibb brothers, who were born here on the Isle of Man, lived there for a couple of years before returning to Manchester, then moving on to Australia where they started their careers after they broke up with the Rattlesnakes, and then they started as the Bee Gees, and then history started after they moved back to Britain and became quite famous and all. So Maurice, Barry, Robin, the most famous Manx man you'll ever know about. Says down here, Sir Barry Allen Crompton Gibb, CBE, because he's been knighted recently. Robin Hugh Gibb, CBE, and Maurice Ernest Gibb. The Bee Gees brothers were given CBEs just after Maurice passed away in 2003. The Bee Gees were born here on the Isle of Man. They have written, produced, and performed over 1,000 songs all over the world, and among the most successful artists of all time. The Bee Gees record a version of Ilan Van In, which is how you say Isle of Man and Manx, the unofficial anthem of the island. For the Isle of Man charities in 1997. The song was released as a single and included the world tour as a show of pride in the place of earth. Let's see, it's got the family coat of arms, I believe. Got the 3 legs of the Isle of Man. And then this is much clearer right here. It's got the lyrics to Elan Van in both English and Manx. Elan Vanin was originally recorded as a poem by Eliza Craven Green in 1854, but is known widely today for its rendition of the song published in 1896. The Manx translation here is by John Nelson in 1900. Van Elfanin Scroot. That's all. Yeah, that's all in Manx and all. So this has only been around for a couple of years. There's been a plaque about where the Bee Gees lived and one of their houses, and there's even a plaque at a SARP. Now, I know, my early days in music was pop stuff until I became a metalhead at 19, but my first album was Bee Gees One Night Only. And so without that album, I wouldn't have not had any appreciation of music. A lot of people would say to me, wasn't Carly your first album? Wasn't Living John your first album? No! It was Bee Gees One Night Only that came out in 1998, and I wanted it for Christmas that year. My parents bought it, and they paid over 30 Australian dollars for that one CD. I watched that concert many times in my life, about, like, I would say over like 2 hours of music. But every time I watched that concert while at work, my buddy Lena from Grenada would be like, pass out Celine Dion, Martin, skip to the next track. Because, you know, we hate Celine Dion, but that's just our opinions and all. So, here it is. I'm in Douglas, Isle of Man with the Bee Gees. So here we are, just a bit north of Douglas. This is the Jane Cookwall Isle of Man maternity home. This is where Barry was born in September 1946, and also his brothers Morris and Robin were also born here 4 years later. This was back in the day. It was known as, check my notes. Yeah, it's known as Jane Cookwall maternity home, and so I'm quite impressed how it's still standing to this very present day, even though it's a different thing. Just walking along St. Catherine Drive right now, where the Bee Gees lived in this house, number 50, from 1949 until 1952. So the Gibb family was moving a lot around the island of Man in the 10 years they lived here. Even as a matter of fact, their older sister Leslie, born in 1945, was actually, I believe she was actually also born here. But the youngest sibling, Andy, he was actually born in Manchester in 1958, before the family set sail to Australia. So here it is. This is number 50, St. Catherine Drive, with a plaque that says the Bee Gees. Let's just see if I can zoom in a bit. Don't want to walk into the property, but plaque says like something like 1949 to I believe 1952, because that's the dates of living here on this property. So there's like about 2 plaques that commemorate the Bee Gees, and there's one at a Star shop, just also in the Isle of Man. So yes, it's got its blue plaque approval, and it was actually unveiled just after Robin died. I believe it was in 2013. So I've done a long walk out of Douglas to find this spa, which is like a post office for the Isle of Man, and then right here, proud to commemorate the Bee Gees family connections with the Union Mills post office. So you gotta remember the Gibb family were in the Isle of Man for over 10 years, and as you might know, the father, Hugh Gibb, was a band leader, played drums, and then the mother was a stay-at-home mum. So this was probably came out about in the 90s, before Maurice Gibb had died. Yeah. They're just above a spa, which is like a combination of a post office and a supermarket. So I've stayed in this guest house in Douglas, Edelweiss. Just show at the front. It's just the bathroom. Paid about less than 35 pounds a night. So in total, my trip cost me under about £100 sterling. Good views of the promenade out there. I just said goodbye to my buddy John and Kelly as they're going all the way back to Ireland today. My flight's not till 7 o'clock tonight. But I haven't seen any cats at all on my trip. I've just seen so many dogs. I'm going to get out now because it's nearly 10:30. Checkout's 10:30. So I need to go now. So in Douglas, I've been staying on the promenade. Yes. The electric railway is all the way up there, but that's not open this season, I'm afraid. And if you want a great place to stay for less than 40 quid, you stay at Edelweiss the Elderwest Private Hotel right here. My room was up there, 40 quid a night. Breakfast was £12, but it was buffet, it was pretty full-flying. And they catered to my buddy John's dietary requirements, and it was lovely. And if I was going to come back to the Isle of Man again, I'd definitely stay here. Even if I had to stay a whole week, I'd stay here as well. So I was going to go about 2 kilometers north and try to find this other house the Bee Gees had lived in. But it's got nothing really significant. It doesn't have like a plaque to say Bee Gees lived here from 52, 55. So I just thought, well, it's not really worth like showing you, because I've already showed you the house they lived in that has a plaque, and the sign at the spa near the post office up north. I took a long walk to get there. And my buddy John and his wife Kelly, we did this thing like geo-spotting, where you download this app and it tells you where are these like locations that somebody's put in like a geotube. And so once you find the geotube, you mark on the piece of paper who you were at, what time, what day, and then you basically just take a photograph and saying, oh, you're spotted. So because John and Kelly and I, we found this geotube on a tree not far from an old train station up north, John and Kelly was given the special Isle of Man flag. So my buddy John and Kelly, they've got their flight back to Ireland today, and my flight's not till 7 o'clock this evening. So I'm just gonna like walk around a bit for the next few hours, just like look around, and then I'll get a bus to the airport for £2.80, and then hang around the airport and then just fly back home. I'm flying back to Gatwick. I don't have a bus home tonight, so I'll just buy for a train ticket once I land to get me back to Victoria or Blackfriars. So I've enjoyed my time here on the Isle of Man, as I've now spent 24 hours here. A lot of the locals are like, oh, you really came at the wrong time of the year, because it's like really cold, and they don't have the motor racing until like roughly springtime, when like it gets busier. But I guess it was off season, the flights were cheap here, the hotels were cheap. It was a good weekend away from London. So I've got to get to Northern Ireland soon, because I haven't been to Northern Ireland. And I also have to get to Jersey, because that's the only other crown dependency I haven't been to yet. So I'll plan trips to Belfast and Jersey in the next few months or so. I've already got a few big overseas trips lined up right now. So anyway, Martin the Metalhead over and out.